Mega billionaire Bill Gates doesn't want to pay Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax. It's Elizabeth Warren's now, by the way. It's Elizabeth. Because again, in circles like Mark Zuckerberg circles and Bill Gates circles, Bernie Sanders is not a viable threat to them because they do not think Bernie Sanders will get out of the primary. Why? Because they're in the donor class. They're in the ruling class, the class that is trying to stop Bernie Sanders with everything they've got. So to them, the only proposed quote-unquote threat is Elizabeth Warren because she parrots some of Bernie's ideas. She won't actually implement them, but she parrots them. So that's why they single Elizabeth Warren out here, because in Bill Gates' bubble, Bernie Sanders, they're keeping Bernie away, baby. That's what Bill Gates is counting on. That's what Mark Zuckerberg's counting on. And that should tell you something. When they don't even view the opposition as the opposition because they know that their donors are going to do everything they can, that tells you something. And that tells you that Elizabeth Warren is make-believe opposition because she is. All right. Now, the Microsoft co-founder also refused to say if he would vote for the senator over Donald Trump. Oh, well, gee, how is Bill Gates voting? Please let me know so I can sleep easy at night. That's actually what I think about most of the time. Before I go to bed, I'm like, I wonder, how is Bill Gates going to vote? That's on the top 5 things I give a shit about. How is Bill Gates going to vote? How is that? All right, so let's go into this. Microsoft founder Bill Gates has joined the chorus. All right, so here's what he had to say. I'm not sure how open-minded she is about, said Bill Gates said this about Elizabeth Warren. Okay, well, hey, she was a Republican until 47. Then she changed. And then she, I mean, I feel like you can at least say the woman's open-minded, you know. Warren's signature plan calls for a 2% wealth tax on fortunes longer than $50 million and a 3% tax on every dollar of net worth over $1 billion. Man, that's hard. That's hard. So here's what Bill Gates had to say to this. I've paid over $10 billion in taxes. I paid more than anyone in taxes. If I had to pay $20 billion, it's fine. But when you say I should pay $100 billion, then I'm starting to do a little math about what I have left over, which, by the way, they're not asking him to pay $100 billion in taxes. That's pretty much his net worth. As the article goes around, this is around his entire net worth, $100 billion. They're not asking him to pay his entire net worth in taxes. That's not what they're doing. In fact, Elizabeth Warren tweeted him, I'm always happy to meet with people, even if we have different views, Bill Gates. If we get a chance, I'd love to explain exactly how much you pay under my wealth tax. I promise it's not $100 billion. It's not $100 billion, just like Bernie's idea, the wealth tax with Bernie's idea where it's 70%, that's after a certain point. That's after a point where the person has more money than they could ever need in many lifetimes. They will never want. Their family will never want. Nobody will ever want for generations in their lives. And then it's at the 70% level. And we're supposed to feel empathy. There are people, because of the media, that feel empathy for the billionaires, that are worried the billionaires are going to be taxed too much. How is that even? First of all, what we should be worried about is the fact that there are billionaires. There's no reason for it. In fact, this is something else in the article. I want to get to this. This is something else they say in the article. And I don't know if this is okay. So Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said Warren vilifies successful people and said we should instead applaud successful people. Okay. By successful people, this is code for billionaires here. Nobody's demonizing successful people. That's not what's happening here. And by the way, that thing that he's probably referring to is when Elizabeth Warren did a really nice speech to a Wells Fargo executive and then didn't prosecute anybody. That's probably what they're referring to. But nobody's vilifying successful people. What we are doing is recognizing the truth that nobody gets $1 billion ethically. I'll say it again. Nobody gets $1 billion ethically. I mean, unless you were just born into it, and if you were, you're probably going to go on to do pretty unethical things. Let's be real. But if you're born into it, well, that's one thing. You can't control, who birthed you. But nobody earns $1 billion ethically. It doesn't happen. You screw people over left and right to get to the top. That's what Bill Gates did. That's what Jeff Bezos did. That's what Zuckerberg does. They all screw people over hard to get to the top. Because if you behave in a proper manner, if you behave in, hey, I got mine, you're going to get yours because you helped get me there. If you treat your employees right, if you treat the people who helped you build your wealth right, You're not going to have $1 billion. You're going to have less than that. Can you still be rich? Sure. You can still be very successful. There are tons of people who are very successful who will never want. And hey, I mean, I'm in show business. I can tell you there's tons of people who, spent their, I know a guy, I pet sat for him at one point. He spent his last dime hitchhiking to get to Los Angeles from Canada, where he's from. He had a cardboard sign, hitchhiking to get down here. He got to Los Angeles. He became a successful music video producer. He's a millionaire now. He's produced some of the top music videos. He's won awards. He used his last dime to hitchhike down here. No one's demonizing that guy. We're asking that guy to pay his fair share in taxes. Sure. No one's demonizing him. No one's saying, if you're successful, that's fine. No one's demonizing successful people. That is such a lazy straw man. We are recognizing if you have $1 billion, you didn't get it ethically. That example I just gave, that guy's not a billionaire. He's far from it. He's very wealthy. And I hope he pays his fair share as his dad. He's actually, he's a Bernie supporter, so I hope that he, pays his fair share in taxes, and I'd imagine he does. But no one gets $1 billion ethically. That's what we're recognizing. And there's no reason for, but there's no reason. There's no reason for it. Why does anyone need that amount of wealth? Why aren't there more protections so that something like this can't happen? If we actually had more protections for workers, if we had policies that favor everybody, the working class, not just the 1%, we wouldn't have billionaires. It wouldn't happen. It's because of the predatory nature of our system and the lack of accountability in our system, where we have pretty much given our politics away to corporations and special interests and the ruling class. It's because of that we have billionaires in the first place. That's why. But Bill Gates, don't tax Bill Gates too much. And he's saying he'll pay $20 billion. That's fine. That's what 100. Come on. And no one's asking him to pay $100 billion. No one. Louis Black put it best. The comedian Louis Black, who I'm a fan of. Louis Black put it best. They had Louis Black on, I think it was CNN. It's not important which network it was. This was years ago. And they asked him why, because he's one of the first people. A lot of people don't realize this. And Louis Black certainly doesn't need a plug from me because he's fine. But Louis Black was one of the first people that was just straight up out in the open in Hollywood going, yeah, I'm a socialist. He was one of the first people, because they were like, well, you're really critical of the Republicans, but you're not a big fan of a lot of the Democrats either. You weren't a big fan of Clinton. So where are you? And he's like, dude, I'm to the left of all that. I'm a socialist. I'm not represented on the ballot. My views are not really on the ballot. He was one of the first people in Hollywood to straight up say that, to not take the more neoliberal route. He was the first one, to my knowledge. And I mean, when I say first one, I mean in the contemporary sense. I don't mean over the course of history. There actually used to be a ton of socialists and communists that were involved in fringe theater groups and stuff like that in New York and probably here in Los Angeles too. But I mean in the contemporary sense, because Louis Black was saying stuff like that in 2004. That's what I mean. But anyway, he said it best. They asked him, they were like, well, why are you a lefty? Right? Why are you still a lefty? You're successful. Why are you a lefty? Which is a question that they'll ask in the court. They're basically saying, why would you look out for anybody except for yourself? Why would you do that? Why would you think this world's bigger than you? Why would you do that? Why would you? And first of all, it does actually affect more than you. And there are a lot of reasons to be a progressive, even if you're rich. There are plenty of reasons, if you're rich, to still be a progressive person, even if you have to pay a little more in taxes. It creates a better society that you participate in. It creates better schools for your children and your neighbors. And it creates better, a better economy for everybody involved, where people are spending more and doing more. It creates a better world for everyone. And even if you're rich, you can partake in that. But anyway, so they basically asked him, hey, you're rich. Why are you still a lefty? And he said, he was like, look, here's the deal. I was broke until I was 40 years old. So I know what it's like. I was broke until I was 40. I struggled in show business for a long time before I got successful. And then he said, now I'm rich. I'm rich now. And he's like, and if you guys tax me a little more to help out other people, You know what would happen at the end of the day? And the reporter said, what? And he said, I'd still be rich. Bill Gates, if there's a wealth tax and you get taxed a little bit more on an amount that is higher than you would ever need, than your family would ever need, you're still going to be rich. You're still going to be rich. And this isn't going to infringe on your ability to do charity, Bill Gates, either, because all those charitable things are tax exempt. You know this. You know this. So don't be like, well, when they have billions, they can give some of it back, which most of them don't, by the way. So, Bill, take a lesson from Lewis Black at this point. Because, yeah, you're getting it wrong here, Bill Gates. Yeah, and I'm sure you watched this show, so you heard everything I said. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news